Hey guys and gals, Undead. I want to do a little bit of a rant/discussion video regarding the state of the game that was released by Bungie for Destiny 2 the day before yesterday. I'm going to say this. This thing should not exist. They went about this all the wrong way. It was not even addressing the actual game itself. It was more of a pity party and them complaining that making content is hard. This has to be one of the biggest L's that this company has ever made. I thought the fiasco between the Blizzard development team for Diablo 4 and their respective fan base was bad. Dude, this is really bad. You literally have people like Kujay, Astacross, Ascendant Nomad, Cool Guy, Cammy Cakes, Sir Demetrius, and plenty more are all coming out saying, this kind of sucks. Like, PvP makes up a major component of your game. One of the three big components of your game, yet it's being left by the wayside. Gambit was a very popular activity until they refused to update it. Bungie used to put care into their seasons and their DLC stuff, but now it's just pump out a season and then you get one yearly expansion, which costs the price, if not more, than a full game. I've just never seen a community as out of touch with this, because what we basically got was making content's hard, making content's expensive. If we try to make this particular content, it's going to take away from the other portions of our game. And I understand that game development is hard. I'm not bashing the devs themselves. It's mainly the higher-ups who refuse to acknowledge the feedback and allow changes to be made, because all they see are dollar signs and basically just ones and zeros whenever it comes to, you're spending too much, you're going to have to spend it over here instead, we have to make this. I understand that a business has to be run, but when you're blatantly ignoring a major chunk of your player base who has been left by the wayside for years, and then we leave and you guys are basically like, well, yeah, player engagement for this part of the game is pretty low, it's because you haven't updated it. Like Gambit, like the actual Vanguard playlist, which they claimed has a healthy player base, because the only worthwhile thing playing in that playlist is the occasional Nightfall for farming. Strikes are useless. No one likes Battlegrounds. And there's maybe something else there. It's been a minute since I've dipped my toes in the Vanguard playlist. I don't enjoy running strikes. I did that for years in Destiny 1 and the first couple of years of Destiny 2, and I hate it. I hate 90% of this game's actual content because it's tedious. There's a reason I've moved away from Destiny myself, but I also have not been as in touch with Destiny over the last couple of months because I'm feeling kind of burned. I was a PvP player for a very long time. I enjoyed it. And then I started getting into PvE. I moved into doing raids and Nightfalls, and I loved it. I was farming Nightfalls. I was farming raids for a while. I farmed Vault of Glass. I was doing it with the Leviathan when it was still in the game. I enjoyed doing it because I learned, hey, this is a whole new avenue for loot. So I was basically eating good the entire time. And then I went back to PvP, and I'm like, I haven't gotten a new map in forever. The last new map we got, Disjunction, is considered to be one of the worst maps in this game, and Bungie refuses to remove it from the player pool. It is a ripoff of a Destiny 1 map. I forgot the name of it. It might have been Frontiers, or the Frontier. It's been a minute since I've played Destiny 1, but it is a pretty much one-for-one remake of the shape of that map, and even the size of it just slightly blown out on the outer edges of the map. It's terrible content. It seems like this was thrown together in a couple weeks. They've said that whenever they go to develop a PvP map, they have to take people away from the PvE team to basically develop content for this, and that costs them resources they could be using for other stuff, and it costs them money as well. It doesn't really cost you money. It's basically not allowing you to make money. PvP is completely free in this game. It is part of the free-to-play portion of the Destiny base game, which the base game doesn't even exist now. It's literally, it's a coaster. You can't even, there's no need to use the disc. I actually got rid of my Destiny 2 disc. It's long gone. but they cannot monetize PvP because all of the maps are added for free. All of the content for PvP is free. So they're not going to want to focus on non-monetizable content. Instead, they're going to focus on the exotic missions, nightfalls, raids, dungeons, all of these different avenues that actually allow them to make money. Like right now, you have to buy Bungie. This is how greedy Bungie is when it comes to their money, because if they can't monetize it, they're not going to put it in the game. You have to pay for a season, and inside of that, you have to pay for the cosmetics, and outside of that, you have to pay for a DLC, and then a season pass, and then you have to pay for an event card. If something comes up for an event, you have to pay for dungeons. You have to pay, they nickel and dime at every single chance they get. You're paying $15 for a single armor set in this game whenever you can pay $20 for something in a game like COD, and I cannot believe that I'm saying Call of Duty has done this right. When you buy a bundle in COD, you get a full player / operator skin, you get a gun skin, you get a player card, an emblem, you usually get a weapon charm, and they'll usually throw something else in there for free. And those are $20. You do have grossly overpriced cosmetics in this game, but their stuff looks a lot cooler in Call of Duty, so it kind of be worth paying a little extra. When it comes to cosmetics as well, Bungie has proved that they're all about making money. That people thought that Activision was greedy and that Activision was a problem whenever Destiny 2 first came out and it was in a really bad state. No, that is 100% Bungie's fault. And they've proved it because they're doing that right now. They are so greedy. They nickel and dime. They have a grossly overblown store. Like whenever a new season comes out, you get maybe 15 minutes of story for the 8 weeks or however long, 12 weeks that the season is. Yet you get garbage reskin armor sets. You get over 30 new items added to the Eververse store, the premium cash shop, every single season. You look at stuff like Solstice of Heroes, which I gave up on after the second day. It is a more stripped down version of the previous iteration of this mode, which was a stripped down version of the previous iteration of that mode, which is a stripped down version of something else we've already had. This event is in year 5, 6, and it's garbage. They've stripped it down so much, the armor itself looks like trash. The content you play for this event is absolute just dog water. Yet you look at the Eververse store and they have $1,000 worth of items that they just added. Again, you have a flashing event card for the actual event itself, which you pay an additional $10, and they throw you some just garbage looking cosmetics. And that's what I'm saying. If Bungie can't monetize it, they're not going to put it in the game. Why would they ever waste development time on making... They probably spend a couple mil maybe making a new Crucible map. I'm not a developer. I don't know how their costs go. I'm just basically spitballing here. Why would you spend money doing that whenever you could bring back content, reprise content, which is why the Destiny Content Vault exists? If you look, a majority of the content that is coming back, they're porting a Gambit map back into Destiny 2. It's already in the game, but they're porting it back into Destiny 2 and calling it new. That's basically like me buying a nightstand and putting it right here and then moving it 5 feet over and calling it brand new. No, you just moved it. It's still there. Nothing new was added. It's just there. It's cheap, easy content for them to basically throw in at a whim and say, "Yep, here's your map, guys." One of our Crucible maps that's coming is literally a reprised map that we've had before. They're making one new Crucible map, and we're lucky to get one new Crucible map a year, even though it makes up 30+% of the player base. We basically get kicked scraps. It's just really embarrassing. And seeing them talk about it, yeah, basically it's expensive, it removes resources. Do you not have 2 designated teams for this? You are a $3.6 billion company, yet you can't afford a couple guys. I mean, Chuck, Jim, Larry, throw a Brad in there for all I care. Get some guys in there that are constantly having something cooking up for Crucible. I'm not trying to, like, oh my God, defend the Crucible side of things, because, I mean, even though I love it, but when you have blatantly neglected our wants, our needs, and just us as a portion of your player base, we feel kind of slighted. Whenever you can't even be bothered to spit out more than one map a year, whenever we're now paying more for less when it comes to our DLCs. I remember paying for DLCs in Destiny 1. Whenever you'd pay for a DLC, you would get a story. For the first couple DLCs, it wasn't that great, but you would always get Crucible maps, you'd get new weapons, armor. All of it was new. Now when you pay for an expansion, you're paying nearly double the cost of the expansion you used to pay for. You get a lackluster story usually, except for the Witch Queen and Forsaken, which those were exceptions. Look at Lightfall. What was this DLC? 50 bucks? I think I paid almost 100 for it for the deluxe version. I paid the price of a collector's edition for something. For digital goods, because I was stupid. Because I was hoping that the expansion would be good. What did I get? I got no new Crucible map. I got no new modes. I got a lackluster story. I got garbage seasons. I got duped, is essentially what happened. I'm paying almost double the cost of an expansion as I used to, and I'm getting less. Because Bungie can just charge you for it because they know you're going to pay it because you have to have it to play the game. This is the only game I know of that requires you to have the DLC to actually enjoy the game to the fullest. If you have World of Warcraft, I've played a decent chunk of World of Warcraft. You do not have to have all the DLCs to actually enjoy the game. There is so much to do. Here, it is such a stripped-down version of the game. You know how embarrassing it is to go up to Xur and see that he has a weapon and you can't get it because you don't have one of the DLC packs? Xur is supposed to be free for everybody. Speaking of that as well, this game has very outrageous pricing when it comes to their DLCs and their bundles. My ex was getting into Destiny with me. She started playing it briefly. She made it to the tower and said, oh my God, where do I go? And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, this is the worst New Light experience. She doesn't know what to do. And she said, hey, do I have to have the DLC to play it? Yes, you do. How much is the DLC? Well, it's going to cost you about $400 and some change. Roughly about a car payment for DLC. And a majority of the content in these DLCs does not exist anymore. Like Forsaken, Shadowkeep, they have locations that are entirely missing. You can't even play this game's base campaign because they took it away. Curse of Osiris and what was the other one? Warmind. You can't even play that content anymore because they took it away. Yet you can still buy passes that have portions of that stuff in it. Yet you can't play it. It's greedy, and Bungie knows exactly what they're doing. You guys make so much money off of cosmetics. This company as a whole, they are wringing their player base dry. They double dip, they triple dip. As I mentioned previously, you have to buy the actual DLC, then you have to buy the seasons, and then you have to buy various stuff in those seasons. They no longer are dungeons included with the actual season. It's a $15 to $20 for a dungeon key pack. To access one activity, you have to pay $20 every single time one of them comes out. It's not worth that. That is a third the cost of a new game. I bought Divinity Original Sin 2, the definitive version, 180-hour long per playthrough RPG for $20 with all the DLC. It is one of the greatest RPGs ever made. Yet, I pay $20 for an armor set in Destiny 2, or the privilege of running a lackluster dungeon, which that one dungeon literally did not work for the better part of a year. It would constantly kill people, the disconnect errors, all of this stuff. They're making buku bucks, yet we can't even get working servers. Like, something just doesn't click for me. Where's all this money going? Is it going to hookers and blow, or are you guys actually investing it in something? Of course you're investing in something. You're putting it into Marathon, your next big game. I'm all for Bungie branching out. But whenever you're completely ignoring the game that actually made you, without this game, you would be nothing. Halo would still be dead because that kind of shooter does not survive nowadays. Arena shooters, they're not what they used to be. If this does not work out and Marathon does not work out, you guys have nothing left. So I would think that they'd be smart to try to, protect their golden goose here and try to keep this going just in case Marathon does flop. And I know it's going to actually be a good game. I know it's going to, because Bungie is the best in the business when it comes to making a shooter game. No other game feels quite like this game does. But at the end of the day, this is what made them. They need to actually respect the players that are sticking around through all of their crap and the people that are sticking around despite being blatantly ignored and nickel and dimed and just raked over the coals for years by this development studio. And if you've noticed, I have not blamed the devs because it's not their fault. I'm basically blaming the higher ups because they control the cash flow. I know that Activision was not the problem. Because we're still having the same issues. Lackluster content, an increase in prices. When they had announced that price hike a while back, I have never seen as quick a backlash. Actually, at that point, that was the quickest backlash. And then the state of the game made it even worse. I had never seen community outrage quite like that. It's just really strange seeing the stuff. I mean, if any other development studio did this, oh, they'd be crucified for this. Absolutely. But Bungie gets away with it, and I don't know how. I'm voting with my time. I played a little bit of Solstice of Heroes, found out it's crap, and I've been playing everything but. I downloaded a bunch of games on Steam. I found GOG.com. They have a bunch of really good RPGs for like 90 cents. And I think I spent like $30 and bought multiple RPGs from anywhere from 50 cents to upwards of $1.25. So I've been playing everything but Destiny because Destiny used to be my happy place. I've talked about it many times. The first iteration of Destiny, and well, Destiny 2 as well, pulled me out of some really bad bouts of depression. I met some of my best friends ever playing this game, and nothing could pull me away from it. A game would drop, and I'd immediately start playing it, and then I would come right back to Destiny. I remember whenever Elden Ring came out, the same week that Witch Queen came out, I played Witch Queen for 2 days, and while I was literally running a Nightfall in the Witch Queen, I had Elden Ring downloading. And as soon as it completed, I left the activity I was in the middle of and played Elden Ring for like a week. And I'm like, I gotta get back to Witch Queen. I finished the story. It was so good. I gotta get back to it and see what's going on. And now it takes virtually nothing to pull me away from Destiny 2 because there's nothing keeping me here. I've spent thousands of hours. I've spent hundreds of dollars on DLC, and I feel like it's all for nothing. I feel like my time, money, and patience has not been valued. I will give devs the credit when I say that things have been better for certain aspects. The Sandbox team, you guys are knocking it out of the park. It's nice to see that there are some weapon change-ups. There still needs to be some work done, but the Sandbox team is doing great. Some of the locations we've had to visit, even though I cannot stand Neomuna, they tried something different. Even though I don't personally like it, they tried something different, and props to them for trying something different. Something different is not always good, but I mean, you never know until you try it. The actual armor for this season, for Season of the Deep, it actually looks really cool. It has a nautical theme to it. It's sick. And speaking of that, I want to talk about a little bit more about their making content stuff, because they talked about how they're not going to have a ritual armor set like the stuff that comes with Gambit or it's sort of like that kind of armor set. It's a set for the year. And they've said that they're no longer going to be revamping or just making a set of armor for the ritual set ever again, pretty much. They're not going to be doing it this again once a year. Is it really that hard for you to allocate some resources to make one armor set per class? Like, I mean, how long does it take to make an armor set? A week? 2 weeks, you guys can't devote 2 or 3 guys to making some armor sets? Like, you guys have such a talented development team, yet you can't do that. You can't be bothered to make something for the people. It's because it's free. That's why. Ritual armor sets are free. And whenever they said they're no longer going to develop them, the reason given was because it takes away from resources. The player engagement with them and usage rate is super low. And I'm just thinking, because they look like crap. They look like absolute garbage. And the stat rolls are terrible. They look like garbage. All the cool stuff is in the Eververse store. I guarantee you, and right hand to God on this, if they made a super sick armor set as a ritual set, I guarantee you'd find me in there grinding for it. Because it would be something worthwhile. Rip a set out of the Eververse store once a season and put it in there as a earnable reward for free. It costs you nothing. It literally costs you nothing. You guys are making money hand over fist, and it couldn't hurt anything at all. I want to talk a little bit about the Gambit side of things, because my boys playing Gambit have been left by the wayside for about a year. You guys had a small revamp with Witch Queen, and look how that went. And Bungie said that they're no longer going to be updating this mode after the final shape comes out because of low player engagement, and they just don't feel a need to. When you leave a playlist to rot for years on end, and then you piss on it a little bit, and then you go back to ignoring it, there's going to be low player engagement. There has been no shakeup aside from whenever you removed a lot of the maps during Beyond Light, whenever you had sunsetting, which I will continue to say this. I was right. Bungie absolutely scammed you, because a lot of the guns that they removed are coming back with paid DLCs. So there you go. I really don't understand. How hard is it to, just a couple guys to make content for it. Shake things up a little bit. Gambit was an amazing mode when it first released. Was it unbalanced? Sure. But we hadn't played anything like that in Destiny, and it was perfect for it. All they're asking is for just a little bit of TLC. It can't hurt anything. And back to the thing where Bungie talks about how making stuff's expensive. You're privately owned. No one's looking at your books. No one cares how much money you spend. You're worth $3.6 billion. You're underneath the umbrella of Sony, the biggest entertainment conglomerate in the entire world. And you're complaining about money? I guarantee you, if you needed it, you're one of their biggest development teams. You were hired on specifically by them to help them make live games for their network. And to show them how to be better at making these types of games themselves. I'm pretty sure they'd have no problem duking you a 5 spot if you needed cash, or if you needed extra developers for your development team. One of the reasons they hired you on as well is, like I said, was to teach their developers how to make and master live service games. Destiny as a whole is a very good game at its core, but it also has this rotten crap around the core. And that rotten crap consists of greed, the seasonal model, the lack of care and attention for the actual wants and needs of the player base, your upper management who needs to go. I said this about Luke Smith years ago. Dude needed to go. And when he went away, things started to come back. And then Joe Blackburn stepped in. If I remember that, I think that's the guy's name. He stepped in, and stuff has basically just slowly, it's going down at a lower rate, but it's still going down. And I think that what would make this right is basically the developers, and I'm not saying they gotta grovel, but do like the Blizzard devs did for Diablo 4. Have a campfire meeting, or just an hour-long podcast, or a panel, something, where you come out and sit in front of the cameras and say, hey guys, we're sorry. We messed up. And don't do that crap where you're hiding behind an article and just some nameless journalist who wrote the article and claimed it was a someone else you were typing it for someone else. Don't hide behind a cold computer screen. Actually come out and say, look, we messed up. And not none of the boilerplate, we missed the mark. Yet again, on camera, actually address the player base. We as a company, we love this game. We want to see it succeed. We know you guys want things. We're going to do better. Don't just type it out. Bungie always says the exact same thing. We missed the mark. Things will get better next season. The time is now. You literally set your player base on fire 2 days ago. It's time you start putting that stuff out. The fire shouldn't have even started. They're literally, we didn't start the fire. No, you sure did. They were pouring the gasoline and striking the matches. Like, it's wrong. Come out, admit you messed up, actually talk to the player base, and I guarantee you they're not going to say a word. That's just how Bungie is. They're so prideful, and they've never been good at that. Bungie has this thing where they think they know best. I'm going to go Karen mode and say, like I've said in a previous video, I pay for this game. I pay for the content. I feel like I should have a little bit of a say in some of the content. And it's also shocking that I've paid all this money for this game. Where's my money gone? It certainly hasn't been reinvested back into the game because a majority of the content, as I will reiterate, is reprised, returning content. You guys seem like you're trying to take the path of least resistance. It doesn't seem like they're having a problem developing content. It seems like they don't want to develop content. It seems that they're trying to burn Destiny out, get this final DLC out, and then basically just ride this ship on down. That seems like what it is. And I know that that's not true, but from the outside looking in, that's what it seems like. It seems like they're just a cold, dead development studio who craps out a DLC every now and then and says, give me money, and then just calls it good. Cool guy, even though I disagree with a lot of the stuff he says, I watched his video regarding the state of the game, and he talked about how Bungie has a thing where when they release content, they basically ship it and let it sit. They'll, like Beyond Light, it came out, they addressed some things after Beyond Light came out. They had to because they were game breaking. But they'll put content out there and let it just rot in the sun for months. And they'll finally come out, guys, we're sorry, we missed the mark. We're going to be making some changes next season. And the season just started. So you have to wait a full year to get changes made. You guys just added a couple hundred people to your development studio less than a year ago. You added a brand new office, which was supposed to be helping with this game, but they're probably working on Marathon and Matter and a few other IPs that Bungie has been confirmed to be working on. But you need to bring some of those people back home. This is your cash cow. This is your golden goose. This is what has made you what you are today. Respect the players, respect our time. Just throw us a bone here. Show that you care, because I'm sure you do, but from the way that you've been conducting yourselves, it seems like you don't. It's very disrespectful to the players. And here's what's crazy. Bungie doesn't owe us anything. They don't. They don't owe us they don't even owe us speaking to us. But here's the thing. We don't owe you crap either. We are here playing your game because we're fans. We love it. And when you slight us and ignore us and say, hey, what you want is too expensive, it's going to cost us time and money, which we can't be bothered to do, it feels kind of bad. It's not a good look. When you have people that aren't even in the Destiny community anymore, that haven't played Destiny for years, coming out and saying, dude, this is bad. Apparently, Mutahar from Some Ordinary Gamers said something about it. I knew he played Destiny from him mentioning it in a video years ago. I knew he kept up with it. But even he's like, I saw like a brief little snippet. He's like, yeah, Destiny is in one of the worst places it's ever been. And it's true, it is. Community morale is at an all-time low. And after the state of the game, it's it's even lower. It's really bad seeing this. I have no hype for the showcase. I have no hype for the final shape. I don't even think I'm going to get it because, well, for one, Tarkov wipes in December and the DLC probably comes out in January or February. I'm going to be playing that. And Starfield's coming out. Remnant 2 just came out. There's plenty of games that are going to be taking up my time. And I think I'd rather spend my money elsewhere. Why would I as well spend all this money on something whenever I feel like I'm not cared for or appreciated, or that the money that my hard-earned money that I dumped on probably going to be a $50 DLC, that is not going to be reinvested back into the game. It just seems like they're just burning cash at this point. The only effort they've put in is into basically their Eververse store, and the Eververse store was actually put in this game years ago to do things such as fun content. If you don't know this, the 0 Hour mission was literally funded by the 2 ornaments for the Whisper of the Worm. I bought one of them because I loved Whisper of the Worm that much. It was the gun to have, and I bought the particular skin that turns it like this bone color, and it looks like it has hive chitin all over it. I bought that because I loved it, and I thought, I didn't realize after they said, hey, this will be used to fund this stuff, and I'm like, hey, I made a great investment. This 0 Hour was a great mission. They invest this stuff back into it. So all this money we're pouring into cosmetics, where's it going? With Call of Duty, they're pouring their stuff back into their store, but they're also releasing free maps, guns, seasons that have insane amounts of content in it, believe it or not. Yet you got a game company that refuses to release content. Like, how in the world are you a looter shooter game developer and you refuse to develop loot? Or you just keep reusing loot? Borderlands 3 reused a few weapon models from the previous Borderlands games, but everything else is brand new. They used a small handful of base level weapons, and that's how all the Borderlands games are. The first couple of weapons that you get that are green, white, and blue, they're usually just base level stuff from the previous games because you're not going to use them, you're not even going to notice them, you're not going to keep them aside from some particular rare weapons that have a special prefix or something on it, or a flavor text or whatever you want to call it. This game development company doesn't do that. They basically just pump out cosmetics and everything else gets left by the wayside. But that's my piece on it. I'm embarrassed for this gaming company. I'm hoping they say something. I'm embarrassed for the player base, and Bungie deserves every bit of the backlash that they're getting because it's clear that they are very out of touch. I saw a cool guy tweet, and he was talking. He's like, "Hey Bungie, I got an idea. Hey, what's up, man? Why don't we try Capture the Flag in Crucible?" Huh? Oh yeah, Capture the Flag would be great. The movement in Destiny. Yeah, you know what? We're gonna pump out an update for Gambit, and then he's like, pretty much just we're gonna do this instead. Oh, you guys know, instead of doing that, we're gonna be releasing 2 new modes to the Crucible Labs playlist. One of them is a slower time to kill version called Checkmate of the actual Crucible mode, and the other one is Relic. And instead of getting Capture the Flag, you're gonna be able to use the Scythe from the Festival of the Lost, or the axe that is pretty much in any Iron Lord activity. No, you don't get what you want. You get party modes that no one plays. No one plays Team Scorched, and no one goes into Crucible Labs because it is garbage. If you guys actually incentivize players to play it, maybe people consider it. But that's my piece on it. I'm yet again embarrassed for this gaming company. I can't believe I went 35 minutes on this video. But I needed this. This is a very cathartic rant. And I'm hoping that if someone makes it to the end of this, you guys have a absolutely amazing day. I'm voting with my time and my wallet. I'm not playing Destiny 2 right now. And a lot of other people aren't. You have a lot of the heavy hitters, as I mentioned, are leaving in droves. And speaking of heavy hitters, on one final thing, Bungie said they're going to be updating their anti-cheat for their game. I understand that. But the only reason they're doing it is they're using Destiny as a testing ground for Marathon and Matter, which are supposed to be online looter shooter games. And they really need these games to sell, and they need anti-cheat to be good. Because can you imagine how embarrassing that's going to be if they release a brand new IP in the same vein as Tarkov, a looter shooter, where if you die, you lose everything? Can you imagine having cheaters in that day one? Can you imagine how embarrassing and bad it's going to be for them? But that's the only reason why they're addressing their connectivity. And if they're addressing that while they're at it, maybe have some proper server maintenance, because for a very long time, over the last couple of months actually, Destiny was down multiple times a day, multiple days in a row. And it was anywhere between an hour to upwards of 6 to 8. And does Bungie care when it goes down? No. The game will go down and Bungie will literally just pull it right back up. Any other game development company, you look at stuff like Warframe and stuff like that, when they got to take the game offline for maintenance. I mean, heck, even mobile games do it. Whenever the game has to go offline for maintenance, they throw you a bone as a, hey, sorry, you wanted to play it? We know that, sorry about that. I mean, things happen. Here's some free currency for the premium shop. Go buy yourself something nice. Or, hey, here's some double XP, or here's something. I mean, throw everybody 1,000 bright dust. Like, it costs you nothing, but maybe 15 minutes to put in, send a command to everybody's account saying, hey, they now have, or send a message to their postmaster, hey, here's 1,000 bright dust on us. We've had the game down almost all day long. We know you're looking forward to playing it. Here you go as a thank you. Hey, we know double Nightfall rewards are going on right now. We had to take the game down for 4 hours in a row for pretty much the last like 2 or 3 days. Here's a couple things on us. Here's a cosmetic, something. Just show that you care, an apology, something like that. Because in Warframe, they'll give you parts to make weapons. They'll give you crafting materials. They'll give you boosters and stuff like this. But Bungie's not going to put in the effort for that because it costs them time, resources, and money. But that's it for now, guys. If you enjoyed this, a like and a sub is always appreciated. If you do enjoy long 40-minute style rants from me, please let me know. And yet again, if you made it to the end of the video, I hope you guys all have just the best day ever. And vote with your time and wallet. Peace.